Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Pixel It. On today's episode, we are starting a brand new book series, Far Cry Absolution, by Urban Wait. Urban Wait.
No way. There's no way his parents gave him that name. Or her parents.
That name is too cool.
That's a name that somebody came up with when they were 15 years old, and they were like, I'm going to go by Urban Wait.
I'm going to go by Clive.
Clive. True story. I remember. You remember when you were a kid and you were getting your school pictures done, and often it was done by some guy who was really good with the kids, and so he would like give everyone got a different nickname or something like that as they came down the way. Well, he called me Clive, and I therefore decided that must be the coolest alternate name that I could have. Me that
because I'm so damn cool.
Because I'm cool. I'm cool like Clive. Clive is cool. I'm Clive. Therefore, I am cool. That's just math.
There's the math.
So boom.
Yeah. Boom.
But yeah, Far Cry Absolution, baby.
Far Cry Absolution. Now, we decided on this book, I think, before our first episode even aired. I think we had already picked it out.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time in the making to get to Far Cry Absolution. And today we're going to cover the prologue and the first chapter, I believe we had decided.
Yeah.
Because the book is written in like 4 mega chapters.
It's a prologue, 4 chapters, and an epilogue. It's not a crazy long book, but it's not a short one either. It's just over 300 pages.
Yeah.
And Mr. Waite went ahead and it's also, I don't know if you can see this, it's a very long, narrow book for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't figure that out. Man, we are opening up all kinds of shit with this video. I could feel it. This is going to work.
It is tall and leggy. That's the kind of book that it is. So, yes, in the prologue, we have the sheriff, who I assume is supposed to be the same sheriff from the game, Sheriff Whitehorse.
Yeah.
There's no name assigned to him. I think he's just referred to as the sheriff.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think they gave him a name. And we have our main character, and it's a bad sign that I already forgot her name. It's
Mary May.
Mary May. I was thinking Maggie May. But no, it's Maggie May. Maggie May. It's a good one too. No, Mary May. She is talking to the sheriff because her daddy's died. Her mama has died recently, and her brother is in a cult. And really, that is just the trifecta of
and who can't relate with that? Already super relatable content. I think we've all been there.
We've all been there.
So yeah, she's and everything like in her father's death at very least is it's just mysterious circumstances. Right. I don't think they go into it with her mother too much, but at least with the father, she's like she's trying to talk the sheriff into doing something, that classic action movie. We got to do something. With those Eden's Gate boys. It's a cult that has basically taken over their town. And he points out, he says that, they're in this huge place full of every kind of person. He says, we've got preppers, because they're in Montana. So that makes sense. We got preppers, we got cowboys, we got libertarian anarchists, we've got, farmers.
I think it's funny is like he lists all these things and he kind of uses all of the most like the pejorative terms for each group, it feels like. And then at the end he says, and Democrats.
And Democrats. That's right. Hold on, I've got it right here. We got preppers, we got doomsday freaks, we got whole families of folks living in shacks up in the hills. No power, no water. Grandma and the great grandkids sleeping 3 to a bunk while mommy and daddy make more. We got gun nuts, we got bunkers and compounds. We got free thinkers, anarchists, nihilists, Democrats, and God knows what else. But I'm telling you, what I saw up there at Eden's Gate, the conviction they have, the goddamn power they gave to the words of the Father, it was infectious. It got damn near under my skin. And they're believers, every one of them. And that's not to say a bad thing about them or to question their faith. But I tell you, it scared me more than anything. I have yet to see this life, and there's not a thing I can do about that, because you know what? It's perfectly legal. I gotta say, it's like the most neoliberal reaction to the like I gotta tell you, what's going on up there scares the fuck out of me, makes me shit
but it's
my
legal.
pants. But it's their religious freedom. They're fine. Like just scares the shit out of me. They're eating babies, but religious freedom. We gotta make sure.
We gotta make sure that they remain untouched.
Untouched. Leave them alone. That baby probably desired to be eaten, because that's the true believer baby.
The true believer baby desires to be drawn and quartered and put into 4 vials.
Yes.
And then spread to the 4 lords, and then there's the big lady, and
there's a giant weird fetus underground.
And Resident Evil Village it was actually taking place in Montana.
Resident Evil Village, game of the year 2021. Probably, actually, now that I think of it.
Yeah. It's up there. So the prologue is basically 2 scenes. We have the first scene is her complaining to the sheriff. The sheriff is like, it's bad, but it's legal. And then we have the introduction of the guy who is basically, if you've played Far Cry 5, now Far Cry you can play in any order you want.
Sure.
But the way the game is kind of funnels you for a beginner, it's like, take this guy first. And you are introduced to basically who is the guy who's the first boss of the game.
Yeah.
And is basically the big bad of the book, John Seed.
Yeah. And before we go any further, this is a prequel to Far Cry 5.
Yes, it is a prequel to Far Cry 5.
Yeah. And John Seed is a member of a family of occultists in Eden's Gate. And you're right. John Seed is basically the first one you dealt with in the game as far as I played. And he's like the televangelist of the family.
Yes.
Like he's like this new age, up with people, the power of positive thinking kind of hippy dippy guy who he seems kind of silly and stupid at first. He doesn't seem dangerous. Yeah.
He seems a little. He's not like the paramilitary guy, Jacob. He's not creepy like the father, Joseph, who is actually the middle brother. But we'll unpack that later. Yeah. He's got this positivity type of thing. Like, yes, you can do it too.
Yeah. It's a very what is it? The bakers, it's a very, televangelist, like,
right.
If only you would just, you can do it, and you've got God on your side. And if only you would give me all of your money and free will, then you can
be saved too.
Yeah.
If you give me your money.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
There's got to be something, and maybe this is like an idea for you in the future to write a play unpacking the idea that the Protestant Reformation and the schism from the Roman Catholic Church started because of tithes, and now a lot of Protestantism is about giving preachers all your money.
Absolutely, it is. Not to get it off on a side tangent here, but for those of you who don't know, Kevin and I met in grad school in the film department, and true story, I went to the professor that we both met under, no names, but and I brought it was for a pilot class.
He wrote for Bill Cosby. Let's say that. Anyway,
let's just point that out. Yeah. That's that. Yeah. And so I brought him, it was a pilot class. I brought him my pilot idea, which was about a televangelist and faith healer kind of guy. And basically about him keeping the grift alive, that sort of thing. And first off, he's a pretty pious man. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume that is not the reason that he told me to just forget about this idea and move on to another one. But that is what he said. He said, this isn't going to no one's going to pick this up.
Right.
This kind of thing in America, especially. No, and actually, he has a point. But I really wanted to write it. But based on that information, I decided not to even bother writing it. And then years later, the Mighty Gemstones, is that what it was called?
I think I know what you're talking about. I don't know if that was the name. It might have been the name.
It's a movie of the movie,
something like that. The Mighty something. Yeah.
And it's a TV show about a group of televangelists and that whole thing. And there was another one, another TV show that came out that is under similar about similar circumstances. The point I'm trying to say is, if there are any budding creatives or writers out there or anything like that, just fucking write it. Just do it. Just do it.
Just write it anyway.
Just do it anyway. Even if
your old white professor says no.
Especially if your old white professor says no. It means you're barking up the right tree.
Yeah, it was also a central plot in what was it? Oh shit. Matlock? No. Was it Matlock?
Matlock.
No, it was one of those shows, and they did a version on HBO that was like the
You talking about Perry Mason?
Perry Mason. There we go.
Perry Mason.
It was
different shows.
Perry Mason, Matlock, Columbo. They're
all the same.
They're all merged together. They're all cops, right?
They're all cops. Well, they're all lawyers. That just made me so happy.
They all work. They all are officers of the law. Let's say
ADAD. All detectives are bastards. ADAD.
Anyway, Perry Mason.
Perry Mason.
The Perry Mason HBO series, which is set before he becomes a lawyer and is a cop. Or a private investigator. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There's a story. There's basically that. There's like a grift. There's a evangelist grift in 1930s Los Angeles or something like that, which is actually, ironically, where a lot of these things were born, where it was the first half of the century in Los Angeles.
Yeah. And I am not, for the record, saying that I would have written a better script or a better pilot or anything than what has come out, but I would much rather have written the thing and see someone else do the idea and me go, oh man, god damn it, blah blah blah, than to me go, oh right, I had an idea for that once. And I look off into the middle distance and cry. Once. So we're halfway through the prologue.
We're on page like 7.
Yeah. So Mary May's trying to leave, and she is stopped by John Seed.
Mary
which is
Mason
a name that bums me out.
John Seed.
John Seed.
Yeah. Whoever the person who created the names, the writer who created the names for this game, they knew what they were doing.
They must have. Yeah, there's a lot.
Well, it might have also been a play on like Appleseed, like
sure, American traditions,
American tradition, and all that
sure.
stuff.
I could totally see that. But
John
seed is a word.
Seed's one of those words that's
It's like lover.
Yeah.
Kind of a bummer of a word.
Moist seed.
Oh yeah. See, I'm kind of desensitized to by now.
Yeah, but I might have to censor that I actually said moist seed.
Oh yeah. That's offensive.
That's not safe for work.
It's upsetting. So John Seed like stops her basically, and he threatens her basically all and out. Like it's really clear that Eden's Gate's got a really tight hold on this town. Yeah, he's got this posse of guys with what might be rifles or assault rifles in the distance. She's trying to drive up the hill to get to the HQ of this Eden's Gate so she can get her fucking brother. And he's basically threatening her, saying, he's up there, he's fine. Don't stick your nose where it don't belong.
Right.
And yeah,
she just runs basically.
Yeah.
She just guns her engine and she's like, I'm going to go find my brother. And more or less, there's a bit of a, it's like a it's not necessarily a chase sequence, just kind of like I'm going.
Right.
And then she crashes her car.
Yeah, then she flips the car. And it doesn't, and it literally, I have in my notes, she hits something. And that's because that's all they gave us. They're like whatever was she hit, flips the car.
Yeah.
So fine. And then we get part 1, and we get the classic, you can see this as a movie. You totally see it. Like, this is our opening moment. The car flips in the dark. You hear the tinkle of glass and the clicking of an engine.
Yeah.
Exhaust floating to the air, and then it fades down, and you see 1 week before.
You know what's hilarious though, because I listened to it on Audible, and you know what's missing on Audible, and
what?
Suddenly makes this first chapter make more sense. The 1 week before is never said.
Oh no shit! That makes a difference. That's kind of a big oversight on their part.
Yeah. It just says the bear was big boar grizzly down out of Canada. Thunder had woken. And here's the thing. It's a big oversight. I kind of put it together anyway. It didn't matter.
Sure.
But what I love about this first chapter is that 50% of it is just talking about the nature of Montana.
Yes.
It is not plot at all. It is literally pure character and setting.
This guy is getting his Cormac McCarthy on.
Oh God, yes.
In a big damn way. Like, this guy put down No Country for Old Men, The Road, and like Blood Meridian, and then was like, we're gonna write something rugged.
They hired him for this Far Cry book, and he's like, all right, so what's Far Cry a game about? It's like, well, you parachute and you headshot people, and it's like jet ski off of ramps, and you have and in this one you're gonna have a cougar that will kill people for you,
right?
And he's like, got it. So, and then he's like, Anton Chigurh.
He goes, where's it? Where's this one set? Where's this one set? And they're like, Montana, and something in him goes, Montana, Anna. Just goes, I know what I'm gonna write.
And so it starts out with, and I'll do it in the voice of the narrator.
Please, I insist that you do.
The bear was a big boar grizzly down out of Canada. Thunder had woken Will Boyd, and he had come out into the night and looked to the north, where the silhouette of the northern Rockies stood like dark sentries amid the lighter gray of cloud and moon. The storm was somewhere to the north. He had felt it building all through the day as he worked, the air growing thick and that damp, heavy feel that built with it. He raced in a second as the rain came down and the sky lit and cracked open like shattered lake ice soon subsumed by the pool of water it had grown from. Oh my God, that's a lot of...
And then Johnny Cash, God's Gonna Cut You Down, just starts playing in the background. God, yeah, that's right. But you're right. This is, I think, more so than anything we've read on this show, this one has aspirations of being downright literary at times.
Yes, this book is like, this is the book that is yearning and pulling at the shackles of the game that it comes from.
Right. And it's hilarious because I am a huge Far Cry fan. I have played all of them. I've finished all of them at least twice. Right. At least since they rebooted. I haven't much patience for 1 and 2 just because they're very different games. But when they kind of rebooted them with 3, I played all of those games and their standalone DLC, Far Cry Primal, all of that shit. I've played them all through at least twice each, and
including the Far Cry 5 sequel.
With the in the future,
the twins.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've played them all, and they're all really satisfying to me. Someone I think described the game series as like Grand Theft Auto in paradise, because they're always in these far-flung, beautiful areas. And I always thought of them as like a first-person shooter through the eyes of Hunter Thompson, They're kind of drug-addled and yeah, and they're so close. The writers of these games, it's frustrating to me because I just play. They're fucking satisfying, man. They're just so good. But the writers frustrate me because they're so close to something really actually kind of poignant at times.
Right.
And I think they know it. And but they're just, at least so far, the writers are not big of mind enough to get it onto the other side of it, or the producers have stopped them or something like that.
And I think that's something to be said for and for those of you familiar with the Far Cry series, it is created by Ubisoft, which is a French video game company that has been in the news quite a bit over the past 6 months or so.
Yeah, they got problems.
For their toxic work environment. You know, you have sexual harassment, you have general harassment, you have all sorts of issues coming out where the higher ups were taking advantage of their employees. Yeah. And I just want to state that obviously we don't condone we don't condone this company or their actions or what have you. And I think part of it is you have a company like Ubisoft, which in prior years has stated that Assassin's Creed, that Far Cry, even this specific Far Cry, are not political.
Sure.
And I think
them. They're so full of shit.
They're so full of shit. And I think the problem is you have these writers. You probably have writers that are hamstrung, and I'm not speaking with any inside knowledge. But I'm assuming you have writers that are hamstrung from some sort of directive from above that you can get this close to the line, but you can't go any further. And you can tell when you play Far Cry 5 that it is this close to the line to saying something about religious extremism, white terrorism, things like that, but never quite actually gets there. It never actually crosses the finish line. Yeah, it's like it's running
they really do believe in the whole go woke, go broke kind of idea that if they take sides on anything, they're going to lose all this money and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, man, your confirmation or denial of, whether or not you, the creators, see this as doesn't change shit. Like, you're still out in the middle of Montana fighting white religious extremists.
Yeah.
It doesn't change anything. Basically, what we're saying is we know about the stink that's surrounding this stuff. And on top of that, but it does color what we're talking about with the book here. And because I think you're right. I think the most likely scenario is absolutely, as you said, the writers are hamstrung somehow. I think Urban Weight here, because it was a book and they figured most people wouldn't read the book.
He's a little less so.
Got a little. He got away with a little more. My guess is that the editor kind of glanced at it and went, "Okay, great, fine. Nothing blatant. That's fine."
And it's like, yeah, as long as it's in the subtext.
Exactly. Exactly. Can our fan base read? Oh, they can. Oh, well. That's a little different then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right off the bat, though, we've got this a tapestry. The dude sets the tapestry stage beautifully, really well. And so we're dealing with Will Boyd here, who is a hunter and a trapper who's worked. We know that he's worked the area for about a dozen years or so. He's talking about a grizzly that has gotten loose somehow out in the area, come in from Canada. And I did not know a male bear is called a boar.
I didn't know that either. I was like, isn't that a pig? And I guess it's a
man. But I tell you what, when I read the words boar grizzly, I came up with a new D&D monster.
The pig bear.
Yeah, exactly. So, he's basically hunting the land looking for this bear, and he traps and hunts and basically gives all of it to Eden's Gate. You get the impression that he's heavily in debt to them for one reason or the other.
Right.
And he's out there hunting rabbits, and he finds the bear in question.
Yeah.
And it's on the other side of a stream. It's checking him out. And basically, because of the stream and that sort of thing, it's not interested in him. And he's not really, doesn't seem to be interested in killing it. In fact, he gives it one of the rabbits that he caught.
He tosses a rabbit at it to basically be like, all right, you take this. I'm going to go the other way.
Pretty much. And so it's like a lot of heavy stuff about this bear, and you're 25 pages in and you're like, isn't this a video game novel? What the fuck is going on?
What is the point about this bear?
Yeah. And then you get to page 25, and it says here that the bear basically, he gets away from the bear and he's checking out the woods. He doesn't see him anywhere. And it says he dropped the rifle from his shoulder and stood looking over the forest and hills, the mountain farther on. He said to himself, just because you don't see him, don't mean he's not out there. A clue.
Aha.
We've got our first bit of religious symbolism.
Exactly.
In a bear. Worship bear god at the temple nearest you.
Sometimes you get the bear. Sometimes the bear gets you. So, and this is about when we get introduced to my character that I absolutely love to hate in this book. He is somehow a bigger piece of shit than even John Seed, and that is saying something. We're introduced to Lonnie,
what a dick.
Who is just this. He's basically, the way after he's described, he's just like this skinny, wiry dude, somewhat muscular stuff. You know what? He's basically Brad Pitt in Snatch.
Yeah.
Picture Brad Pitt in Snatch.
Yeah, like country hayseed version of that. He's every skinny / vaguely muscular guy you knew in college who refused to wear anything but a dirty white t-shirt.
Yeah.
With a big Adam's apple, and you wanted to, you loved him, but you also just wanted to punch him in that Adam's apple. It was just like sticking out so far. You just wanted to see what would happen if you just punched him. Yeah. Right there. Yeah. Just to see. I feel like it's like the glowing dot on a Mega Man boss. Yes. And you hit him with the Shadow Man's shuriken there, and just blows him up. Yeah, and then the Dr. Wily fight music starts. Exactly. Now I play Mega Man. All right. So later on, we find Will. He's giving up a bunch of the game and stuff that he has hunted and tracked over to Eden's Gate, and Lonnie's taking it, and Lonnie just threatens him over and over again in this chapter. Yeah, like Lonnie is basically like, he's like, hey, remember all the stuff the church did for you? He's basically like, you've done a lot for us, but the church has still done more for you. The debt's not it. It like kind of hints that the debt isn't paid, all that kind of stuff. And basically, so they're having this discussion. I gotta go find our dog outside. Okay. Oh God. Okay. Right back. Hi everyone, this is Phil the Conquistador. While Kevin's gone, I want to tell you that I'm the genius behind all of this. This is all me. I have done everything. I came up with the idea. I edit every single episode. I wrote most of the books that we are reading. And I developed the technology necessary for us to record ourselves through video and audio, in fact. So I think we should all take a moment, celebrate me. Please make sure to send Steam gift cards and cupcakes my way. You can find me at Twitter at El Conquistador. Moving on.
it was the new puppy. She was April let her out into the backyard. But she's like this little thing. I showed you the picture, right?
Yeah.
She's a little thing, like 4 pounds, and she lets her out in the backyard to go potty, and then she goes, she poops, she pees, and then April like goes to pick her up to bring her back inside, and the dog's just now it's doing zoomies out in the backyard,
of course,
running back and forth.
I'm lighter.
So April's like, can you just please so we had to do like a 2-person tag team like maneuver to to get this dog back into the house.
That's the older I get and the more friends I know with kids and that sort of thing who are married, it's like that's the main purpose of a marriage. You're like, okay, we got to make sure.
Yeah, you just need extra hands.
I mean, that's pretty much it. Pretty much it. So yeah, let me see.
Where were we? We're talking about Lonnie.
Talking about Lonnie, that piece of shit. I think right off the bat you realize you're dealing with a total dickweed here, because he's looking at all the food, the game that Will's brought him, and he asks him like about the deer. He brought him a deer, and he says, "What are you going to do with the head?" And Will says, "I don't know. I was probably gonna,
he's gonna put it on the wall." Yeah,
put it on the wall. And Lonnie's like, "Sure, the father probably really liked that. It sure would be a nice gift to give." You're not giving that to the father. You're putting that over your bed next to your Van Halen poster.
Yeah, and
your beer can collection.
So it's funny is because Will is being like the bigger person. He's doing his job. He's like, it's going to take me a few hours. I gotta skin the deer. I gotta like drain the blood, and I gotta separate the muscle groups, cut out all the sinew, get it ready. Mm-hmm. And Lonnie's like, just skin it and throw it into the truck with the head.
Right.
It's like, okay.
Such a dick. Like right off the bat, like not even over anything particularly important.
Yeah. No, it's just the deer.
He's just an asshole.
And Lonnie has a special job for Will.
Oh,
Lonnie
yes.
He has a special job.
Yeah.
So basically, and this is more or less the inciting incident, I guess, of the book.
Yeah.
If you want to put it in film phrases, this is kind of what kicks off. If the story is really about Will Byers, that's his name, right?
Yeah. Will Boyd. If the story is about Will Boyd's, it's really Will Boyd's journey, right? Is this book. This job that Lonnie gives him is more or less what kicks off that journey of introspection that Will goes on through the course of the book. And basically what Lonnie wants is for Will to hunt down and kill the grizzly that has come down from Canada. Mm-hmm. And Will has been interested in this grizzly, of course, as we've seen, but he also points out, like, he respects the grizzly, but he also points out to Lonnie, like, hey, it's illegal for us to kill it. We can't, it's protected. We can't go kill grizzlies. Right.
And Lonnie's like, well, we can do whatever we want on
and
church lands.
Can. He's kind of right. Like,
they are kind of making the laws themselves, you know?
Yeah, they're in charge here, man.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, he basically, and then Will tells him a story about when he was in Vietnam, because he's a vet. Yeah, about them hunting this man-eating tiger that was like slowly killing off one after the other, like all these just members of his
right.
platoon, you know. And it's a good damn story. Hold on.
There's actually there's a movie I was thinking about that. What was the name of that movie? I think Val Kilmer was in it. Hold on. I'm telling the listeners to hold on.
Hold on, listeners. Quit your yapping. Have some respect.
It was in the 90s, I think. Yeah, I think it was in the 90s. The Ghost in the Darkness.
Oh,
there we go. A bridge engineer and an experienced old hunter begin a hunt for 2 lions after they start attacking local construction workers.
Oh, that sounds fun, actually. That sounds like it could be
So,
really good.
and that is starring Michael Douglas and Val Kilmer.
That's a great combo. Okay. All right.
Yep.
I'm intrigued.
Yep. So, but basically, yeah, he tells Lonnie the story about this tiger, which is hunting and killing parts of like members of his platoon or anyone who tries to hunt the tiger ends up getting killed.
Yeah.
And he tells them this whole story about what they decide to do about the tiger. And they build this pit and this trap and all that stuff. And the tiger doesn't fall for it and ends up killing more people.
Yeah, and ends up killing the people who built the tiger trap. Like crazy smart animal. And Lonnie is like waiting for, because Lonnie, you can tell, is one of these assholes who's like, he expects people just to do whatever the hell he is. He says.
Yeah.
And so he's telling him this story. And at this point he says, and you killed it. No, Will said, how do you kill something you can't see? Lonnie finished his cigarette and flicked it away towards the fire pit. You think this bear is supernatural? You think this bear is some heavenly retribution? The father would love that. That would be scripture to the man. No, Will said, I'm saying I don't know a goddamn thing. I'm saying I can't help you, which is probably, well, it's certainly untrue.
Yeah.
He's absolutely the guy that they want to talk to.
He is absolutely pretty much the only person who would probably know how to handle a grizzly.
Yes. But that doesn't mean he wants to do it. Like
No, he doesn't want to do it at all. What ends up happening is he tells Lonnie this story, and we kind of fast forward to it's probably like the next day or so, and Lonnie has had a crew of people dig a pit with spikes, basically as Will described in the story, over in the woods, and Will has trapped it with these beaver carcasses.
Yes.
And they have this discussion about if you tie off a certain gland in the beaver, it ends up smelling like artificial vanilla or something like that.
and I looked that up. That is absolutely real.
That is, and I'm not surprised with the level of detail that Urban Waite has put into this book. It's
called, I think, castoreum. It is a gland found in the asshole of beavers. And it smells like vanilla, and bears love it, humans love it. And if you have vanilla scented or flavored something, and it doesn't say imitation vanilla, and it doesn't say vanilla in the ingredients, it says natural flavorings, you're probably eating something from a beaver's asshole gland. This is an absolutely real thing.
Your imitation vanilla is beaver ass.
Beaver ass, and look, some of us love eating ass even when it's not vanilla flavored, but that's a step. I think that's a bridge too far, my friend. A bridge too far.
That's a bridge too far.
A beaver too far.
A beaver too far.
God damn it.
Oh boy. So the trap works. Not exactly. Yeah. Kind of. The trap works in that the trap activates. What they end up killing with the trap is not the boar grizzly that they wanted. They wanted to kill. It was a mama bear. It was a mama grizzly.
And it basically, he says, now I know why the boar was coming down to look for food, because his mate is pregnant.
Yep.
Or at least they have a baby.
Right.
And it
kind of gets dark, and mixed in with all this around the same time, they're talking about the cattle ranchers who used to live on the property.
Yeah, the Kershaws, they're cattle ranchers out there, and they're just kind of disappeared.
Gone is the word that they use, and it's creepy how non-specific that Lonnie gets about where they are. Yeah.
He says they've been repurposed.
Repurposed, which is like,
and that's certainly not Stalin talk. That's not. Yeah, that's definitely not a version of disappeared. Like, good God, yeah, that is creepy as fuck. But the bear has been there. They're all their cattle are gone, And
Right.
Lonnie says, most of them they had like taken and eaten
Right.
at Eden's Gate. But yeah, the bear, apparently they're blaming losing some cattle on the bear.
Well, it's funny though, because like it's such a weird moment. It's almost surreal in that Lonnie's like, well, we got to kill this bear because it ate the cattle.
Yeah.
There's like no cattle left. And the cattle that the rest of the cattle weren't killed by the bear. It was just like one cow.
Right.
So, but this bear is now a problem because it killed like the last cow or something like that.
Yeah. It's honestly really good writing in the sense of allegory. It's just like, oh no, the bear doesn't really stand to hurt us in any way. Just fuck him.
Yeah.
Because we're the ones in charge here.
Right.
And that's it. And we do get a moment before he wakes up in the morning and finds that the trap has worked, which I thought was, I had to make a note here. It mentions, not in any specific way, but it says here, it basically says that he misses his daughter and his wife. They are gone for some reason. They imply that he used to be a heavy drinker, so maybe they left him because of that. Now he's just kind of sad. And he falls asleep at the Kershaw's house and ends up finding a nightgown in the place and smells it and like holds it against him and it's really sad. It's just really, really sad. He's so lonely and
he's very lonely. Yeah. Yeah, and he also has a moment during the night in which he witnesses John doing some baptizing.
Mm-hmm. And I did not know that non-consensual baptisms were a thing. But evidently they are.
They are definitely in Eden's Gate. Now, the game kind of expands upon this because I believe the non-consensual baptizing is also done under the effects of the bliss. Bliss kind of makes a lot of the things that Eden's Gate is able to do make sense.
Right.
Because it's a hallucinogen that has some like mind control properties.
And I got to be honest with you, one of my main problems with the way they handle the storyline in the video game of Far Cry 5 was the bliss. Because the whole explanation basically is like, oh, all these people weren't brainwashed. Well, they were brainwashed, but it was because of this drug. Right. And it's like, no, man, people do horrifying, murderous shit all the time because their worst selves are appealed to by people like this every day.
Right. And also, once you introduce the idea that these people are under the influence of some sort of drug that has been forced upon them, the game becomes a lot sketchier in terms of like, oh yeah, feel free to kill the cultists.
Right. It gives you permission. It's like killing zombies in a video game. It's like, well, they used to be people, but they're not anymore. So blow them all up. It's really interesting. So Will wakes up in the Kershaw's house to this kind of light barking sound outside of the house. And that's when, as you pointed out, he finds this mother bear dead at the bottom of their tiger trap. And he realizes that the mother bear that the cub is the barking that he's hearing. So the mother bear's dead and has left this cub without a mom. And I am so sad.
I was like, Will points out, he's like, the cub was probably circling around the pit, barking at the corpse of his mother, trying to get her to come out, and then ran off.
It's so sad.
It was so sad.
It was so sad. Like, you're like,
oh my gosh,
motherfucker. Oh, it's so sad. Yeah, because that's exactly what it was. And so he starts searching for the cub because obviously he feels responsible.
He feels bad. Bad.
He's hoping that, and at this point, as a person who's played Far Cry 5, I'm hoping that this is the bear companion that you'll eventually get in the game, whose name is Cheeseburger. And I love it. I would live and die for Cheeseburger the bear. He's like Flip Cup. I will die. for Cheeseburger the bear. I just love him so much.
That's great.
And at this point, I wrote this in my notes. Book, if you kill this cub, I will never forgive you. Just like I was like immediately. It took less than half a page for him to to just.
I love this cub.
I love this cub. Please, I can't fucking deal with this. I can't deal. So he's searching for the bear. He finds it, his little cub, and he feeds one of the beavers. He takes one of the beavers that they use to attract the bear and feeds it to the cub, and the cub starts following around. And
the cub becomes his best friend.
His best friends forever. Will and the bear, Will and the cub. Fridays on Fox.
Exactly. It's a sitcom at this point.
Yeah, and the next
for a brief,
day,
shining moments. They give you some like light and happiness. Urban Weight is like, even Cormac McCarthy has like a lighthearted moment occasionally. I'm going to give that to you now, and then I'm going to take it away.
Steal it away from you.
Like Anton Chigurh with with a compression gun to your forehead.
That's just, because the next day he wakes up with the bear, and the bear and him go hunting together. He like goes and checks his traps for the rabbits and stuff in the woods, and the bear's with him, and you're like, yay, adventures. This is the Far Cry I signed up for. I love animal companions in Far Cry 5. It's so good. Yep. And then someone shoots at the bear. And he assumes at first they're shooting at him.
Right. Like, who's going to shoot at a bear cub?
Right. But then it becomes clear that someone's shooting at the bear. And he pulls a John Lithgow, Harry and the Hendersons, I don't want you anymore. Like, he doesn't say anything, but
he's white-fanging. He's white-fanging the bear.
Yeah, that's a far more literary and respectable reference, and fuck you a little bit. God damn it. So he shoots at the bear, like he shoots at the bear's foot and shoots over its head, and finally the bear, like, the bear gives him like one last look of betrayal because he just lost his mother, and I can't fucking take it.
I was like, no.
And the presumably cheeseburgery bear runs off in the woods.
And guess who was holding who was shooting at it in the first place?
Just guess.
Fucking
guess.
Lonnie.
And for fun, we brought in John Seed as well.
Yeah, for fun.
For funsies.
Two biggest dipshits in Hope County.
Oh my God. So they basically saw what was going on, but they don't really lay into him too thick about it.
Yeah.
Because they have a new job for him now.
Yep.
And they want him to hunt the most dangerous game. A girl. That's probably an exaggeration,
who has just been in a car accident.
Right. Girl gets into a car, and they need him to help them hunt her down. And suddenly the prologue and the first chapter are nice and tied together.
They tie together. Circles back around. It's beautiful. So basically the bear, now that we've talked about it, it's like the grizzly bear represents anyone who stands against Eden's Gate.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's basically like, this is how anyone who stands against Eden's Gate is going to get. And it doesn't matter what trespass, like it in the nature of life, the circle of life scheme of things, this is a relatively minor trespass.
Yeah.
This is just a bear killing one of the last cows that a farm that is out of commission.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't even have anyone to work the fucking
doesn't even
ranch.
have. Yeah. But just because it did it, it was enough.
Yeah. It was basically the bear's thumbing its nose at them, and they can't have that. And it from a bear.
Exactly. And it circles back around to the conversation John Seed and Mary May had, where Mary May is talking about how, like, you want me to stop selling alcohol at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
And John's like, yeah. And she is like, well, how do you expect me to keep the bar open? And he goes, I don't.
Right.
Like,
Right.
he's very clear about his intentions.
Yeah. It's not. We're not being clever here. This isn't a riddle.
They're
We
very
want your
upfront.
business to shut down.
Yeah.
They are taking over. It's so it is a hell of a first chapter in this book.
Yeah.
Now, admittedly, it's a first chapter that goes on for 64 pages.
It's a first chapter that's 64 pages, and half of which is basically nature documentary.
Right. And here's the thing: I'm here for it, man.
Yeah,
like I'm digging it so far. Like, it's just just well written. It takes itself seriously, but not in that self-important bullshit kind of way that you would totally understand seeing in like an adaptation of a video game. Right. You can kind of see like them go, I'm going to make something special out of this. I'm going to make a piece of art out of this. And it just disappearing up the author's asshole. But pretty like good stuff.
It's like it could go a couple different ways. The worst possible way is like the Mario Brothers movie. Right. Urban Weight, I think, did a pretty tremendous job. I would say it almost deserves not now, and I say deserves not to put down Far Cry 5. It almost deserves to not be a Far Cry book. Like this could have been totally renamed, something else, and just could have been something like Cormac McCarthy light book about a man and a woman, like a woman trying to find her brother and a man struggling against this church, but now has become a cult in the time that he's been a member of it, struggling against and his own personal, like that's some deep stuff, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And Far Cry 5 never gets half as deep as some of the implications.
It really doesn't. And that's what it is. That's how they designed it. There's a part of you that's just kind of like, well, that's probably fine. Yeah. But yeah, no, he offered a little more something. There's
definite tonal mismatch between the two.
Big time. To read this, I have not. I want to. I have not started playing Far Cry 5 again a third time because I've got other games to play, and I know that I will play that game and like 100% it, and just because I have to, because I fucking love that franchise. But yeah, I can imagine that playing the game while listening to this on an audiobook, it would be a weird tonal shift. That would be very interesting.
This is more like a novel that would have belonged with Red Dead Redemption 2.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
As opposed to Far Cry.
Yeah.
Because Red Dead Redemption 2 has the Far Cry 5 is beautiful. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
Red Dead Redemption 2 really leans on the aesthetic and the sweeping landscapes. You're not in a car. You're in a horse. Yeah. You're walking through this countryside. It really leans on that vibe. Yeah. Whereas Far Cry 5 is like, woo, wingsuit.
Right. Far Cry 5 will get you to those moments every now and then. These like kind of solemn, but then it just jumps right back into the insanity of it. In fact, Far Cry 3 got a lot of flack for that, like the tone problems. They wanted to talk about really serious, deep and dark, off limits stuff there, but they also wanted to have you hang gliding through the tropical wilderness, blowing up things and stuff like that.
Sure.
It's where I recall, I'm sure it was from another game, but that was the first time I ever heard of the term ludonarrative dissonance with Far Cry 3. And as much as I love that game, I can't deny that it's there.
Yeah, I believe the first time I heard it was that phrase was had to do with Uncharted. Because you're playing a guy who is like going through tombs and trying to like get these treasures or what have you, and at the same time he's killing thousands of people.
Yes,
like there would be some sort of like not thousands, but there's a lot. There's actually an achievement. I believe there is an achievement in one of the Uncharted games called ludonarrative dissonance when your account hits over 1,000 kills or something like that.
And for those of you who are listening who don't know what we're talking about, ludonarrative dissonance is basically when your actions in a game, for example, don't match up with the tone. When you're told, like Tomb Raider by Crystal Dynamics, it was a similar problem I had with that, where in between action scenes in the game, your character's very naive and very sweet and not a murderer and takes life very seriously. Right. And then in the actual gameplay itself, you are straight up murdering the fuck out of dozens upon dozens of people.
Compare that to something like the Hitman series, which it is like the story and the gameplay actually kind of work together. And in fact, in Hitman, you're not incentivized to kill anybody aside from the targets that you were assigned.
Right.
And that's part of it so it's funny that like a game like Hitman where you play a killer, you can end up killing fewer people than Nathan Drake or Lara Croft, who are not killers.
Right. Very distinctly not killers.
Yeah.
And that's basically, the beginner's version of what is ludonarrative.
There's a whole thing. There's probably some YouTube videos on it. You
can... go check it out. But it's yeah. So that was the prologue of the first chapter of Far Cry Absolution. I gotta tell you, I'm looking forward to the rest of this book.
So we'll take chapter 2 next time. And until then, you guys can follow us on Twitter at PixelitPod. We have a Discord now. I will pin that to the top of the Twitter. You can join the Discord, find other people who are interested in the Pixelit podcast. And remember to give us a 5-star review on Apple iTunes or follow us on your favorite podcast app. It really helps us out.
It helps people find us. It helps people know. It helps the algorithm put us near the top, which, let's face it, is where we belong.
All right, that'll do it for tonight's episode. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.